there! Ready for liftoff!
Always.
Awesome! Today we're diving deep into a human mission to Mars.
Very exciting.
It is. And get this, we've got the inside scoop.
Oh, yeah.
We do. Straight from NASA's long-term plans and SpaceX's even bolder vision for getting humans to the red planet.
It really is a journey full of challenges and amazing breakthroughs.
I know, so buckle up, because we're going to uncover how and why we're going.
The when, too.
Oh, yeah, and the when. We'll even get into the, wait, they can do that, parts of this whole Mars mission.
Should be fun.
All right, so first things first. WHY Mars. The solar system is huge. What makes Mars so special that we're putting so much energy into getting there?
Right. Well, it's not just that Mars is the closest planet to us.
Even though that does help.
It does help, but
Okay.
Mars also has these clues that could rewrite history.
Like what?
Think ancient riverbeds and polar ice caps. There's even traces of methane in the atmosphere.
Build on methane. Like what cows burp out.
That's the one.
What's that got to do with ancient Mars?
Well, it's a sign that there might have been microbial life
Whoa.
on Earth. Methane is often produced by, living organisms.
Right.
So finding it on Mars suggests that maybe billions of years ago, life existed there too.
So we could be talking about discovering alien fossils.
Potentially.
That's huge. But you also said that Mars can teach us about Earth's history. How does that work?
So imagine Mars as Earth's what-if twin.
Okay.
Seeing how Mars evolved with its thin atmosphere and weaker gravity helps us understand how Earth's own environment and life developed.
Like a time machine to study our planet's past.
Exactly.
Fascinating. Okay, so Mars is this scientific gold mine, but actually getting there is a whole other story. Right?
Absolutely.
What's NASA's approach? They seem to be taking things slow and steady.
They are. For NASA, safety and scientific accuracy are super important. They're currently running experiments that might sound like science fiction, even.
Like what?
Have you heard of MOXIE? Yeah. It's a device on the Perseverance rover, and it's actually producing oxygen from the Martian atmosphere,
They're making breathable air out of thin air.
basically.
That's wild. What else are they working on?
Well, they're studying those Martian dust storms.
Oh, right. Those can last for months,
They
right?
can. And they cover the entire planet.
Wow.
It's a big challenge for solar-powered equipment, too.
I bet.
NASA is also figuring out how to build habitats that can protect astronauts from radiation and creating those sustainable life support systems.
It sounds like they're tackling some seriously complex problems. Are any big missions coming up?
Yeah, they're planning for a human mission to Mars in the 2030s.
Wow.
And they're going to use the Space Launch System, or SLS for short.
The SLX.
Yeah, their most powerful rocket yet.
Wow.
They're also developing a special lander that'll be pre-positioned on Mars, ready for when the astronauts arrive.
Okay, that sounds pretty ambitious even for NASA.
It is.
So let's talk about SpaceX.
Okay.
They're known for their, shall we say, more go big or go home approach.
That's one way to put it. SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, wants to make humans a multiplanetary species,
Of course.
and they're not afraid to push the limits of technology to get there.
I mean, that's how they roll.
Right. Their focus is on Starship.
Starship. It's massive. How does it fit into their Mars plans?
It's the ultimate Martian transport system,
Okay.
designed to carry up to 100 people and all the supplies needed to establish a permanent base on Mars.
Wait, they want to create a Martian colony.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Starship can refuel on Mars itself.
What?
Yeah? It's called ISRU, or In Situ Resource Utilization.
Now they're going to live off the land on Mars.
You got it.
Mm.
Mars has water ice trapped beneath its surface.
Okay.
Starship will extract this ice and use electrolysis to split it into hydrogen and oxygen.
Okay.
The oxygen can be used for breathing and as propellant, while the hydrogen is combined with Martian carbon dioxide to create methane, which is their fuel for the return trip back to Earth.
Wow. It's like they're creating a little ecosystem on Mars.
Huh.
But even with all this technology, getting to Mars is going to be brutal, right?
It is. It's a journey that will really push human endurance to its limits.
Over 30 million miles each way.
Yeah. We're talking about spending months in deep space, exposed to radiation, and facing those psychological stresses of isolation.
Makes a weekend road trip sound pretty good right now.
Right.
How are they even getting ready for that kind of challenge?
Both NASA and SpaceX are investing heavily in astronaut training and developing countermeasures for all the risks.
Okay.
Special shielding for radiation, exercise regimes to fight muscle and bone loss, and even virtual reality simulations to help astronauts cope with the mental strain of those long-duration spaceflights.
Wow, it's amazing what the human body can adapt to.
It is.
But let's face it, surviving the journey is just the first step, right? Once they land on Mars, they'll need food, water, power, a place to live.
Right, and this is where we get to see some really innovative solutions for living on another planet.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, this is where NASA and SpaceX's approaches really differ.
Okay, so let's break it down. Food first. I'm guessing takeout's not an option on Mars.
Nope, not yet. NASA is focused on creating these closed-loop systems, to grow food.
Oh, right, like those experiments on the International Space Station.
Exactly. They're learning how to grow crops in microgravity using LED lighting and these carefully controlled environments.
So we're picturing like Martian greenhouse, all aglow with pink LEDs, astronauts harvesting fresh veggies.
That's the idea.
What about SpaceX? How will they keep those Martian colonists fed?
SpaceX wants to use Martian resources.
Interesting.
It's a bit more, cutting edge.
Makes sense.
They think they can take nutrients right out of Martian soil and even create fertilizers.
Oh, wow.
Think hydroponics and vertical farming, all powered by Martian sunlight.
So they're going for total self-sufficiency.
Pretty much.
Now, what about water? We all know that's crucial for survival.
It is. And luckily, Mars has water ice trapped under the surface. NASA's going to use robotic explorers to find and extract this ice, which can then be purified for drinking and, other things.
I'm guessing SpaceX will be tapping into that Martian ice, too.
Exactly. They want to use Starship itself as a giant water mining platform,
Wow.
equipped with drills and heating elements to get at those ice deposits.
Pretty clever. So we've got food and water. What about power? Can't exactly plug into the Martian grid.
That's for sure. Power is critical, too. NASA is focused on using both solar and nuclear power.
Okay.
Solar panels are great during the day, obviously,
Right.
but they'll need a backup for those long Martian nights.
Which is where nuclear power comes in.
Yeah, small, portable nuclear reactors.
Nuclear power on Mars, that sounds a little risky.
It is a bit controversial, but NASA is committed to developing safe and efficient nuclear systems for space.
I mean, it makes sense if it's the best way to provide continuous power.
They think so?
What about SpaceX, going nuclear too?
SpaceX is all about solar power. Remember, Starship is reusable,
Right.
and that includes its solar panels. They're going to put up large arrays of these panels around their Martian base, capturing all that Martian sunlight.
So picture a sprawling Martian city, powered by these vast fields of solar panels.
Now you're getting it.
That's pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about housing. What kind of homes are we building on Mars?
This is where living off the land is really important.
Okay.
NASA is experimenting with 3D printed habitats made with Martian regolith,
Regolith.
basically Martian soil. They've even tested prototypes here on Earth.
Wait, they can print houses out of Martian dirt?
They can. They mix the regolith with a binding agent and use a giant 3D printer.
Wow.
It creates these strong structures that can withstand the Martian environment.
So we're picturing a Martian neighborhood with houses made of Martian brick?
Why not? What about SpaceX?
What are they doing?
Thinking bigger.
Always.
They want to modify Starship itself into a pressurized habitat, at least at first.
Like a giant Martian RV?
Pretty much.
So they're just going to land their spaceship and move right in,
It's efficient.
I'll say. But what about going outside? Can't just wear our Earth clothes on Mars.
Definitely not. The Martian atmosphere is thin, there's radiation, and temperatures are extreme.
Right.
Both NASA and SpaceX are working on advanced spacesuits that are like personal spacecraft, providing life support, protection, and even augmented reality features.
Hold on, augmented reality. They'll see holographic maps and data while walking around.
Exactly.
That's insane. Straight out of a movie. But even with all that, being millions of miles from Earth, cut off from everyone,
Yeah,
it must be incredibly isolating.
it is. The psychological effects of long-duration spaceflight is a big concern for both NASA and SpaceX.
So how do you prepare someone mentally for a one-way trip to Mars?
It takes a very specific person.
Right.
They're looking for people who are incredibly skilled and resilient, but also very adaptable, team-oriented, and emotionally stable.
Makes sense. You'd be living in close quarters for years.
Exactly. Compatibility is key.
It's like creating a small society on Mars.
It is.
What are they doing to help astronauts cope with the isolation?
Well, things like virtual reality simulations to recreate familiar places.
Okay.
Advanced communication systems so they can have near real-time conversations with people back home.
Cool.
And even therapeutic programs to help them process being so far from Earth.
So they're trying to create a sense of community and support, even millions of miles away.
That's the goal.
Let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about survival and tech, but what's the bigger picture? Why are we really going to Mars? What are we hoping to find?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? Are we alone?
It is a big one.
Mars is our best bet to find out.
You think so?
The evidence of past water and maybe even life suggests that Mars could hold the key to how life began.
So we're not just planting a flag on Mars, we're searching for answers to some of humanity's biggest questions.
We are,
What kind of scientific discoveries are they hoping to make?
well, looking for signs of past or present life, of course.
Like alien fossils?
Maybe. Or evidence of liquid water below the surface, which could mean there's microbial life there even now. They'll also study the Martian atmosphere, geology, and climate history,
Trying to piece together how Mars evolved.
and what lessons it holds for Earth.
Makes sense. Welcome back. We've covered so much about this Mars mission, from the why of Mars to how we'll actually survive there.
And we're not done yet.
Right. There's still so much to talk about.
Yeah, I believe
We've
it.
covered the science and the technology,
Mhm.
but what about the human side of this whole endeavor?
What do you mean?
What kind of society could actually take root on Mars?
Oh, that's interesting. It's tempting to think it'll be like a fresh start, right? A chance to build a utopia.
Yeah, but won't human nature kind of follow us wherever we go?
It probably will.
Yeah, the question is, will we learn from the mistakes we've made here and create a better society there?
That's the hope.
Do you think there are unique challenges to building a society on another planet?
Well, think about the Martian environment. It's incredibly harsh.
Yeah,
Every single resource is going to be so precious.
right.
They'll need to be super cooperative and resourceful.
And figure out a whole new way to govern themselves, right?
Exactly. How to resolve conflicts, how to deal with living in this totally artificial environment.
It's like a giant social experiment, but with much higher stakes.
I like that. A giant social experiment.
And then there's the relationship with Earth. Will Mars just be an independent colony? Or always tied to its home planet?
That's a big one. Something that'll probably unfold over generations.
Too bad.
At first, Mars is going to depend heavily on Earth for support.
Of course.
But as it grows, becomes self-sufficient.
Right.
The whole dynamic is bound to change.
It's wild to think about how those social and political systems will evolve. Even if we don't ever get to go to Mars ourselves, this whole thing feels so important. Why are we so obsessed with going beyond Earth?
It's in our nature, don't you think? I mean, from those early humans who migrated across continents to people climbing Mount Everest.
We always have to push the limits.
We do.
Yeah.
Space is like the ultimate frontier, this huge unknown.
That sense of wonder, wanting to see what's out there.
Yeah. But there are also very practical reasons to explore space.
Besides just being curious?
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about all the technology we have now because of space exploration.
Like what?
GPS, satellite
Okay.
communication,
Yeah.
medical imaging,
Wow.
all because of technology developed for space.
It's amazing. It's not just about reaching for the stars. It's about taking those benefits back to Earth.
Exactly.
And what really gets me is the global effort of it all.
What do you mean?
NASA, SpaceX, different countries, everyone working together toward this one goal.
It is pretty inspiring.
Right. It gives me hope, not just for space, but for humanity.
I get that.
So after this incredible deep dive into a human mission to Mars, what's your biggest takeaway?
For me, it's knowing that we're on the edge of something huge.
We are.
Sending humans to Mars isn't just, a scientific or technological achievement. It's proof of this incredible human spirit to explore and learn.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners, after taking this journey with us, I have one last question. If you could send one message to those first humans on Mars, what would it be? Keep that question in your mind. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into some other fascinating part of the universe. Thanks for listening.